What is Cosa Nostra to you, and does it still have the same meaning today as it did back in the 80s?
Cosa Nostra is what kept me alive.
Let me straighten something out. I don't know any father but Sonny Franzese.
I made probably just as much money for the family as Michael did.
When that saint was burnt to my hand, I already proved myself.
How?
Otherwise, that wouldn't have happened.
How?
I proved myself, Sammy.
How? Did you kill someone? You didn't live a rough life.
Your peak, you were saying you were making how much money per year?
We bringing in $5-8 million a week.
Cops have ugly things. Politicians have ugly things. We do fucking wars.
No argument
and
there.
we bomb countries and kill men, women, and children. So let's not get it. The mafia is ugly, and it did ugly things. But so did the rest of the fucking world.
America, sweet America, God sheds on thee. Oh, we cry like you be there from sea to shining sea. He cried like a brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
What is it about the mafia that people find so fascinating? It's about the power, about the ability to do anything you want and no one could touch you. But the more powerful they get, sooner or later someone is going to betray you. And in the end, it's always a friend who does the deed.
So Sammy, earlier you were kind of pushing Michael a little bit on the topic of, yeah, but did you actually do the work necessary to be a made man? You kept pushing him on it. Let's just say it never happened. What's wrong if he never did that and if he never killed someone? Isn't that an honorable thing if he didn't?
The books in the mafia were closed from 1955 to approximately 1975.
Okay.
There's a lot of guys who did work, gave beatings, did all kinds of things for the mafia. And they waited their turn to become a made member in the mafia. So if he never did anything, he's actually taken somebody's slot. Somebody who deserved that position. It's not his fault. I'm not saying it's his fault. But that's why I took a little bit of that position, that there's nothing wrong with it. His father was a heavyweight, and he proposed him. And he has that clout, that right to do that. But I felt when a guy all his life, we don't just make people. There's a process. They know who your mother is, your father is, your brother is, your sister is. They examine what you did. How were you in school? When you got arrested, how did you react? What did you do? When you were asked to do something, did you do it? Did you do it efficiently? Are you honorable? Are you loyal to your friends? They take all of these qualities. And it takes years to develop who they're gonna make. They don't just make guys that easy.
Michael, so maybe I'm gonna ask a pointed question to you that Sammy's been hinting at. Did you ever kill someone as a made man?
Well, Patrick, let me tell you this. I learned a lot of things from my father. And one of the things he taught me early on that was very helpful to me, he said, Michael, if you and I committed a crime, no matter what it was, he said, 1 minute after we commit that crime, if you ask me about it, I'm gonna say, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. Taught me that. As a result, I never got caught on a tape. I always knew when to keep my mouth shut. In all due respect to Sammy, he doesn't know what I did or I didn't do. That's number one. Number two, I don't have immunity for the things that I did in my life. None. I don't have any immunity. If I did or I did not, I wouldn't be talking about it no matter what. So, but I will tell you this. When I took that oath, I earned it. And throughout my years in that life, when I was told to do something, I did it. And I'm going to leave it at that.
I don't expect you to say anything that would harm you or put you in prison. But one time you said that certain people talked about you, said things. So keeping your mouth shut is a good quality. John should have had that quality to keep his mouth shut. He didn't. I don't knock you for that. But I answer you that that's why some of these people may be complaining or saying something about you. Because maybe they feel you haven't. And they're not cops, they're street people. They have vast knowledge of who did what. I don't have those same people knocking me. I told the truth, whatever it is, however the cards fall. And if you did, more power to you. I'm not the guy who's knocking you, and I think you know that.
I do.
But what I say is that if these people who are supposed to know, when it comes to that, and if they didn't know, then you got in under false pretenses. You did it. I'm gonna give you that. I'm not gonna call you a liar. But then they didn't do their homework because they put you in before somebody else. That's not an answer to an administration.
Sammy, you're assuming that it never happened. And what I'm saying
I'm not
is,
assuming anything. I'm assuming
you
that.
just said, wait a minute. You just said they put me in under false pretenses. How do you know that? As a matter,
I'll tell you what.
No, let me tell you something. If you didn't talk about what you did, I'd never know it. You didn't go around bragging to people before circumstances changed in your life. Hey, I did this, I did that, I killed this guy. I never heard that on the street. Let me finish. I always heard you were a tough guy, a stand-up guy, but I never heard about specifically what you did because I don't think you talked about it. And other people shouldn't have been talking about it then too. The same way, whatever I did, I'm not talking about it. And if anybody else is talking about it, they shouldn't be.
I get that. I get that. And you're right. I didn't talk about my crimes with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. But a boss, an administration, I was the underboss. A boss, an underboss, and a consigliere has to know these things. According to the Cosa Nostra rules, they must know. That's why we pass a name around. When you get made, your name went to every 4 to 5 families.
That's right.
Michael Franzese is going to be made. The boss, the underboss, the consigliere, give it to the caporegimes. Caporegimes give it to some of the crew members who are made. So that anybody who knows anything about you could put in, this is what he did. We don't want him to be made.
That's right.
Or, this is what he is. Sammy was a street guy, I know everything he did. I don't have no proof of what he did, but I know what he is. I know when he got arrested. I know how he conducted himself many, many times. So it's not every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and I agree with you. If we killed somebody and somebody else was supposed to get rid of the body, I don't even ask him. Is it gone? Yeah. I don't ask him, where did you bury it? That's why they can't find Jimmy Hoffa and so many people. Because we're tight-mounted when it comes to that. But there is people who know that he's dead. And there is people who know who killed him and where they buried him.
Right.
That's a necessity. And here's how it's a necessity. That FBI agent, Donnie Brasco, they didn't ask those questions. And what happened? It destroyed half of the Gravano family. People went to prison because we did not know who the fuck he was, where he came from, what he did. So it makes it a necessity to know.
And I agree with everything you said.
Okay, good. And if you don't say you did anything and you want to keep that secret, that's okay with me, even as the underboss. But my decision would be no. If you want Michael Franzese made, I don't know anything negative about him. Let's put him on the side until his turn comes.
That's if you had no idea what I did or what I didn't do.
Right,
Okay.
right. What I'm saying, that's my job to know.
Let me just clarify. So you're saying that if my name was passed around to all 5 families, which it was, we know that, and I got made, then they must have made a decision to make me for the right reasons.
The decision, in my opinion, and what I heard, was because your father, Sonny Franzese, who was the underboss, who was wrongly convicted on something, wanted to do him a favor. So you could take care of your father's businesses or business transactions or money on the street. Not just an associate, but a made member, which would give you the power that an associate don't have. So they did that. They did that.
Did they do the same for Junior's son and Colombo's son?
Absolutely.
And all the sons that I know, so that, in your opinion or what you're saying, none of us earned the right to be made, we just were,
No,
we
you
didn't do the
said,
work,
you got
we
made
just
in
a favor?
1975.
Correct,
The books were closed for 20 years.
correct. I was proposed with guys who were waiting 20, 25 years, that's true,
So was I.
yes.
But I didn't get in 75. Frankie the Chico did, some other guys. I didn't get made. Well, let me tell you what happened. The books were closed until 75.
Correct.
So tons of guys were waiting. They decided, the commission, to make 10 guys in each family. Let's see how it goes. So they opened up and they made 10 guys in each family, kept that pretty quiet. I was super close with Frankie the Chico. I didn't know right away he even got made. What happened is it went pretty good. In 1976, they said, no problems, it went pretty good. So let's open it again and do it every year. I was made in 1976, not on the first batch, on the second batch. So 10, 20, 25 people went in before me. I had a pretty heavy record. I was young, I was only 31. Guys were saying, wow, Sammy, how old are you? 31. You went in front of a hell of a lot of guys. I said, well, I don't make that decision. And that's what it is. You were 24,
That's right.
you said.
Yeah, 75.
In 75, you were 24 years old. And you went in on the first batch.
I did.
So my point was that you went in and took someone's spot who was waiting years.
No, that's not true. I'll tell you why. Because for 2.5 years prior to that, I was on call every day to do whatever work they asked me to do. As was, let me finish, as was Persico's son, Mike Bombada, as was Anthony Colombo, and a lot of guys who were sons of guys that were made already. But we had to do what we were told to do. They didn't just go say, hey, because your
What did
father,
Anthony
come on in.
Colombo and what did Carmine Persico's son do?
I'm gonna answer you the same way.
I'm going to tell you what John Gotti's son did. I was at a
Well, I don't know
commission
about
meeting.
John.
Well, I'll tell you
I don't
what
know
it
about
is.
John.
I was at a commission meeting. Me and John, Chin Gigante and Benny Akes, Vic Amuso, and Gaspar. And John, I was across the table like I am with you, looked at me and said to Chin, did you hear about my son? Chin looked up and said, I'm sorry to hear that. That's Cosa Nostra coming out of Chin. Who the fuck is your son should get made over other people who deserve it. Now you could do what you want later on. He didn't come out with all my words, but that's what it meant. John looked at me and I shrugged my shoulders as if Chin said what he wanted to say. He had the balls, he was Cosa Nostra, he had the brains to say it. This is people in Cosa Nostra. He told another boss. John was the boss, told another boss. Joe Colombo made 2 of his sons, Anthony and Joseph, when he was dead. What the fuck happened to Anthony Colombo? You were in the Colombo family, and Joseph Colombo. They were disappeared, literally. Why? Because they didn't even fucking belong. They were nothing.
The word Omertà, you know, to the average person nowadays, Drake has a song called Omertà. We see Omertà on different songs. We see Omertà being used in books, people writing about it. It's got many different meanings, but what did Omertà mean to you?
It meant open your mouth when you're in a dentist's office. Don't talk. But the thing is a joke when it's a double-edged sword. If me and you have an agreement not to betray one another, not to talk about anything, to hurt one another in any way, shape, or form, that's a two-way thing. It's not a one-way thing. We have disagreement, handshake. We trust each other. We did all kinds of things together. We're cool. But tomorrow you turn on me and do something fucking weird. What's Omertà? It's bullshit. You broke it already. So what do you want me to do? Stay with it? So I'll go to prison for the rest of my life to prove I'm what? Tough? Or how stupid the fuck I am. When you broke it and you want me to go to prison and you're gonna stay home, or whatever he did, he left the life because whatever, with the Russians and the whole thing. They maybe wanted to kill him at one point. So he's gonna be so tough and so smart, so good to Omertà. He's gonna sit there like a fucking statue until we blow his fucking head off, take his fucking money. His wife and kids could go see where the fuck they gotta go. Well, that's a brilliant move on his part. Oh, what a wonderful man he is. No, he had the balls to fucking say, here, fuck you and Omertà and whatever horse you're riding on, and leave. That's a ballsy move. That's not a coward's move. I was with a guy, a black guy, Fat Cat Nichols. The guy killed his parole officer. Got a life sentence. Stood up. I was with him in prison. Tough bastard. Good guy, too. His wife is being mistreated. His mother was a drug dealer, too. They're robbing her for money. Somebody's banging his wife. Good support team, right? Everything's going good. Then they get to him, this Pappy Mason and them, his old crew, and tell him there's a guy who cooperated and he's in a building, there's a squad car outside. There's 2 police officers. One guy goes in and get coffee. When he goes in and get coffee, we can shoot this guy, he's a young guy. And then we could go in and kill the informant. Fat Cat Nichols says, absolutely not. Don't do it. No, they do it behind his back. The cop that they killed, his brother is an FBI agent. The guy who they wanted to kill in the house, he hears the shots, he jumps out the window, he's gone. They miss him. Fat Cat Nichols, that's his crew, they indict him again. This now on a capital case, killing a police officer, he's facing the death penalty. And Fat Cat turns around and says, fuck this, and cooperates. Guys will say he's a rat. Is that a rat? I don't know about that.
What do you think about Omertà?
I'll tell you what Omertà is, and again, I learned it from my dad. When you take that oath, this is what my father's opinion was. Michael, I don't care who betrayed me, I don't care who ratted on me, I don't care how bad the life was. I took an oath, and I couldn't live with myself if I betrayed that oath. I don't care what anybody else did. That's it, and I'll live this way until I die. I'm gonna die that way with my boots on. He didn't care who wronged him, who did this, who broke him as captain. I made that oath, and I'm not gonna betray my oath. That's what Omertà is. You took the blood oath, you agreed to keep your mouth shut, you knew you weren't entering fantasy land. It was a criminal life. We knew what we were getting involved in, and we have to shut our mouth. That's the speech he gave me. And the reason he gave me that speech, because after I had walked away, we didn't speak for 10 years. Who was mad at me? Who was gonna kill me? My dad went along with the contract. I heard everything from the government. He finally said for me, when he realized I wasn't hurting anybody, because everybody was saying I was putting everybody in jail, and I go see him, we were in the kitchen of our house. Why did you do what you did? I said, let me ask you a question, Dad. I said, you're on your 3rd parole violation. We're sitting in this house. I says, you have a daughter that died of an overdose of drugs. You have a son that's a junkie, a lot of trouble there. You got my mother's a basket case and my other daughter's dying. That's your legacy. I said, I don't expect you to take revenge on anybody, but after your 3rd parole violation, why didn't you say I'm done? pick up your family, move the hell out of town so you don't get violated again, and worry about the family. You don't have to be a rat at that point. What are you betraying? You're not tolling on anything. You're not doing anything. No, I'm a rat if I do that. I don't understand that mentality. I didn't get it. So for me, what it meant what my dad said. No matter what, this is the oath we took and we can't violate the oath. I violated my oath. I talk about the life. I left the life, so I betrayed my oath.
And you talked with agents.
I talked with agents.
That's cooperation, Michael.
Yeah.
We can't, listen, you're bringing this up now.
No.
I'm not going to accept that.
You don't have to accept it, but the reality of it is, here's my thinking. Nobody has to agree with me, and everybody can
It
call
could
me
be
whatever
whatever
they
your
want.
thinking is. The reality is that you sat with agents. That's breaking Omertà.
I said I broke it. I betrayed my oath.
Yeah, and you talked about your crimes and everything else. That's
Talked about my
cooperating and
crimes.
that's a rat. Just like everybody else who cooperated.
You gotta understand.
It doesn't have to mean that you took the stand.
Sammy,
Once you break that oath, you
let-
broke it.
But I already agreed to that.
Yeah,
I
well,
betrayed my
your
oath.
father had a mentality, and he's not the only one.
Okay, but
There's
let
hundreds
me-
of guys who did that.
Let me finish. My thing was, I'll talk to the government, but I'm not gonna put anybody in prison. I'm not gonna go
It's
to
not
that
your
extent.
call.
Huh?
It's not your call.
It was my call because.
It's not your call.
Sammy,
You
I could have
sit
taken
down
a
with the
stand 3 or
agents.
4 times.
Listen.
I could have taken a, listen, no,
No. Maybe
this
you
is
could have.
important.
Let's wait.
John
Let's
Riggy,
get-
no, John Riggy, I'll tell you why I went back on parole, why they violated me. They brought me in to testify against John Riggy. My friend brought me into Newark while I was on parole, picked me up, 2 agents brought me in, said, we're putting you on the stand because he and I were partners in a business in New York. And I refused. I sent back, within 10 days I was violated, because he was my friend, I couldn't do it.
I don't know about that. There's
Well,
a lot of
no,
people
I'm
I
telling you.
refuse to.
Okay, but
But
my
that don't mean
point is,
that doesn't mean I didn't cooperate.
my
Let me make
point,
the
no,
point.
let me
make the point,
let me
what you
make my
did.
point, then you can have the floor.
Yeah, go ahead.
My point is, when I got out of the life, it wasn't because I was mad at anybody. Did people do me wrong? Yes, they did, but I understood that's part of the life. This life is a treacherous life, no matter how you look at it. I seen backstabbing, I seen guys get killed for the wrong reason, I seen what happened with my father. You wanna know something? When the government came after me, they had real reason, Patrick. I can't say I was framed. The Giuliani case, it was questionable. I beat the case, okay, I get it. You know, they're on one side, I'm on the other. The gasoline case, I was guilty. I was guilty. When I took the plea on the gasoline case, there was no cooperation involved. I got a 10-year prison sentence, $15 million restitution, no cooperation, didn't talk to anybody, nothing. I did that because I beat them 5 times. I had leverage over the government. I made my deal because I was already planning to walk away
All right,
from
I
the
think
life.
that's enough of a speech with that bullshit.
Let me finish. No,
Yeah.
this is important.
It ain't
I was in custody. They're taking me down to Florida where I got indicted again on the whole gasoline case. We agreed that the case was gonna go concurrent with my federal sentence, but you gotta plead first in the state because the feds won't go concurrent with the state, but the state will go concurrent with the government. So I pleaded to the state, they gave me 9 years. And on the way back, I'm on the plane with 10 agents who took me down there. And I'm teasing them. They're asking me, all right, Michael, now that it's over, when we were watching you here, was this what really happened? They're asking me all of these things. And they said to me, I said to them, you know why I took the plea? I said, I was tired of beating you. I beat you 5 times. I said, let me give you 1. You got 1. You know, one agent looked at me, I'll never forget. I see his eyes right now, and he said to me, Michael, not this time. You became a superstar. They were lining up to testify against you. You were going down. I never forgot that. And you know what? He was right. He was right.
I don't follow what all of that meant. It's a good speech.
No,
It's a good speech.
it's not,
Here's the
it's
thing.
explaining.
When you go in, you said your speech.
It wasn't a speech.
Well,
Andy.
whatever it is.
It wasn't a speech. It
You
was
went in and
explaining
you
what
talked
happened.
with the agents about your crimes when the guy
100%.
cooperated against you, and you cooperated against some Jewish guy.
What Jewish guy?
You told me yourself
Norby
that
Walters.
he amount. I don't know who the fuck he is.
Sammy,
You
I got
talked
subpoenaed
about
to
him.
testify in that case, and I went in and I
And the guy
testified.
didn't- you
The
didn't-
guy didn't
you
do
didn't-
1 day's time. Not 1 day. He didn't do an hour
I'm
in
not
jail.
talking about maybe this Norby Walters, whoever it was.
Well,
And
that's
I'll get
all
the
it was.
facts if we have to go to that route.
You get the facts.
I will.
It's
I
public
will. You know, I
record.
got a lot of agents I know too. It's
public record.
We could get it. Fuck the public record. I could get the unpublic record. But what happens is when you talk and you cooperate with the the government. Now, they don't use you. You're not gonna take the stand. You talked about your crimes, you talked about other things, and you have to plea or whatever they do. They gave you this plea. It's a profit.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. I did not, there was no cooperation attached to my plea agreement in 1985. You can investigate high, low, and everywhere in between. You can look up documents, you can go to the Freedom of Information Act, do whatever you want.
You can't
I
get
did
those
not
documents
cooperate.
with Freedom of Information.
Well, you got FBI
Everybody knows
connections.
that.
You got FBI connections. You could. There was
Yeah,
no.
well, I'll get it.
There was no. No,
but
let
the
me
thing
finish.
is,
You
when
can't say
talk-
that and then not let me
you're
finish.
sitting with- No,
There was
let
no
you talk for
cooperation.
10 minutes.
No, but there was. You just made an allegation. That's not true. There
It
was
is
no
an allegation. I'll make it true.
There was no cooperation attached to my plea agreement
Maybe it's
at
not
all.
cooperation, I don't know what you wrote. You met with the agents and you talked with the agents.
I met
You
with
just
the
said
agent
it.
5 years later.
No,
I
you
was-
just said you want to play with agents and you were joking, I beat you once. They don't go for that bullshit.
What are you talking about?
You just said you were talking with agents. I beat you, so now I'm going to give you
Sammy,
one.
I was talking about my case. I took a plea.
Yeah.
I was talking about my case. They were saying, Michael, when we were following you here, was this what really happened?
All right. But
I
what I
already took the
understand
plea.
is that when you talked with the agents, you talked about your crimes, you talked about other things. Now, what happens is they didn't use you. They didn't use
They
you.
couldn't use me.
Sammy, I've been listening to you, and I don't want to say it, but I think you want to say it, but you haven't said it yet. Is there anything you want to say to Michael in regards to cooperating?
What can I say? He ratted. He cooperated. He cooperated with the fucking government. He wanted to get on his fucking high horse. I didn't send somebody to prison. He met with the fucking government and ratted. You're a fucking rat.
You want to talk about respect? You want to talk like that?
Point your fucking finger at me.
Oh, what are you going to do?
What am I gonna do? I'll break your fucking face. That's what the fuck I'll do.
Let me tell you
That's
something.
right.
You're not the
This was years ago.
underboss
You'd be
anymore.
fucking dead.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
My fucking category?
Sammy.